Hey, how's it going? I hope your day is going great so far. My name is Jennifer Medeiros. So grateful you're here. On Tuesdays, I like to talk about a book that I recently read, give my honest opinion and review, and perhaps work through some internal stuff I'm processing through the books, through the characters that I'm reading. So if you like reading and you don't mind getting into the trenches and talking about some heavy stuff, I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button so I don't feel like I'm just kind of hanging out here on my own talking to myself. Welcome to One for the Books. Quick side note, you're probably going to hear my dogs walking around. Sorry. And hopefully you'll get to see them coming up the stairs. But, welcome to my life. So today we're talking about a book called Nothing to See Here that was written by Kevin Wilson and published in 2019. So this one's pretty recent. Last week, if you remember, we talked about The Haunting of Hill House that was published in the late 50s. So this is a lot more recent. The premise of this book is super interesting. I found this just so fascinating, and we're going to get into the details of why, right? So just a quick, mile-high overview summary of what the book was about. You've got these two girls, Lillian and Madison, who went to high school together. And this was one of those high schools that it's like you either have to have a lot of money or you have to be really smart and get a scholarship, right? So Lillian is the one who was really smart and got a scholarship, but she does not come from money, right? Madison comes from money. That's kind of how she got into the school. And it's one of those things where she's a rich girl, but I'm not like those other rich girls, So they're really good friends. They really hit it off. They're like roommates, the whole thing. Well, Madison gets in trouble and Lillian ends up taking the fall for her because it would ruin Madison's reputation, and Lillian ends up getting kicked out of the school. Then they don't talk to each other for years. Madison tries to send her letters every now and then, trying to almost act like nothing happened. But Lillian never responds until years later. They're both adults. Madison is married to this guy who's I forget what his actual political position is, but he's gonna be a U.S. senator. And he's in Tennessee outside of Nashville. And he's got these two stepkids from his first marriage, and they're about to move in with Madison and him and their son that they had together, whose name is Timothy. Now, these two kids, they're twins, and they're Bessie and Roland. And so Madison is asking Lillian if she will come live with them and basically be a nanny to these stepkids that Madison is never even met, and just wants them to, wants her to come and just live with them. And this big, compound, basically. They have this mansion, and then there's this other house that Lillian's going to live in with the two kids. And they're all going to live in the mansion, and just come and take care of these kids. And I know you'll be great with them. And oh, by the way, there's just this one little minor detail that I need to tell you about. They're twins, and when they get really angry or upset, they burst into flames. No big deal. It's fine. I'm sure it's fine. The thing is, the book is so well written that honestly, there were times that I forgot that that's not a real thing, right? That you don't literally burst into flames. And no kids were harmed in the writing of this book. When it happens, they don't actually hurt themselves, right? They don't burn up, they don't burn into ash or anything like that. Their clothes will catch on fire, they will burn everything around them, but they themselves are essentially untouched. And it's so fascinating, right? Because these kids, Bessie and Roland, it's when Lillian first meets them, they're really angry, and they're really, they actually the girl ends up biting Lillian in her arm and causes totally breaks the skin. I mean, it's very violent. But the relationship that forms between Lillian and these kids is incredible because, okay, well, we're going to get into that because there's really so much to unpack here. So again, going back to the characters, you've got Lillian, who's your main character, and the whole book is from her point of view, right? And you get a lot of her background. She's got a really crappy relationship with her mom. Her mom's kind of always, I think, spends a lot of her money on drugs, and Lillian ended up doing the same. And then you've got these kids who just don't know where to go and don't know what to do with themselves. Their mom accidentally OD'd, and they have this dad who they don't remember, but they feel like probably wants nothing to do with them, and why would he even like them, because they burst into flames. They care very much for each other. They're very protective of each other. And there's just so much. Okay, so I want to start with Lillian, because this is who I've felt the most kinship with. I've had friends who kind of felt like they were up on another level than I was, and you always sort of feel, I hate to say inferior, but I guess that's really the word, right? You feel kind of inferior. You feel like, in fact, I want to bring up my favorite line from the book, and this stuck with me so much. It's super early in the book too, and the line is, "I wasn't destined for greatness. I knew this, but I was figuring out how to steal it from someone stupid enough to relax their grip on it." Oh, man, like I feel that in my soul, right? And it's something, honestly, I probably still struggle with a little bit. That's the codependent in me. We're working on it, right? We're working on it. But that really, really struck me. And I've had friends like Madison before who like act like, they don't care about money. It's easy not to care about money when you have tons of it, right? And people are just going to bail you out of situations, and you know what I'm talking about, right? So they just have like such a weird relationship, because it's almost like Madison, in a way, even though she has all this stuff, she's married to this guy who's going to be a senator. She has all this money. She lives in a mansion. She has a freaking nanny. But it's almost like, in a weird way, she envies Lillian, how Lillian can have this sort of carefree attitude about her life, but it's so strange. It's almost like they both want what each other has or doesn't have, because they both see a sense of freedom in the other that they don't have. Does that make sense? It's almost like those movies. You've got like this princess and this poor person, or just, regular person, and they switch places, and they both realize, like, they think that the other was way more free. Does any of this make sense, or am I just kind of pulling this out of nowhere? You can totally tell me either way. And then these kids, I mean, it's almost like Bessie and Roland and Lillian have this feeling that they can really relate to each other on at a certain level, where they're looking for that sense of belonging. Lillian thought she had it when she made it into this school that was really difficult to get into. And then when she got kicked out, she's just kind of floating through life, and she doesn't really feel like she belongs with her mom, and that she has a sense of belonging there. She doesn't really have any friends outside of Madison who she hadn't seen or talked to in years. And then the kids, the same thing. They've kind of been tossed around between living with, they were born into a family with their mom and their dad, but after they split up, they just went off with their mom, and then there was all these boyfriends, and then the mom dies, and now they're with the grandparents, and they just don't know where to put themselves. And so there's definitely this beautiful kinship that happens between Lillian and these twins. And again, the book is so incredible, because the way that it's written, honestly, there were times that I had to remind myself, people don't really just burst into flames. That doesn't actually happen. But the fact that you could forget that, I think really speaks to the author's ability of really making the focus more on these real human emotions. And in fact, to give you a little bit of background, I saw an interview with the author, and he talked about how when he was a kid, he got a hold of this book that talked about spontaneous human combustion, and he became like so fascinated with it and almost obsessed with it. And then as an adult, he was actually diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. And he didn't know that as a kid, but as a kid, he always had this sort of like electricity, like this energy inside of him that he didn't really know what to do with it. And he kind of always felt like he was just suddenly going to burst into flames. And then as a teenager, he almost kind of wanted to, right? As a way to sort of protect himself or to keep other people away from him. And so I think on some level, we can all sort of relate to that. And that, like, knowing that background really made me love the book even more, right? I don't know. You just feel like it makes more sense of why he would write about something like that. You know, like otherwise you're like, who would even come up with something like this? Like, where would you even get an idea like that? But no, it actually makes sense. So you've got Madison, her husband, who honestly, I don't even remember his name and I don't even think it's that important. So you've got her husband, and her son, Timothy, all living in the big mansion. And then you've got Lillian and the twins who catch on fire in this other house that's on the property. And then you've got this guy, Carl, who's basically like Madison and her husband's like right-hand man. I wouldn't call him a butler per se, but he's the one who helped Lillian go get the kids. And he's kind of like their muscle. And so there's quite a bit of, like, there's moments in the book that you think this is going to be one of those cheesy things where Lillian and Carl end up like falling in love. Thankfully, it doesn't happen. Sorry if that's a spoiler. But it doesn't. But they both have this sort of, they both end up sort of having like this real respect for each other. And yeah, it was such a fascinating book, such a fascinating read. I'm so glad that I read this. And it's one of those books where, like, if they turn this into a movie, which I hope they do, I don't know that it would necessarily be some, like, Oscar-worthy movie, you know, but so entertaining, like, so watchable. You know what I'm talking about? So this is one of those books that, like, I don't even know if it won any awards. I guess I should have checked that. I didn't check that. But it was way fun to read. It was so fun to read. I really enjoyed it. And I would hold the book up for you, but I don't have it because I read it on my Kindle. And I know there's going to be some book purists that are going to be very upset with me over this, but please hear me out, okay? My husband goes to bed super early because he gets up super early. He gets up between 3 and 4 in the morning, goes to the gym, all that stuff. So he goes to sleep really, really early. I like to read fiction before I go to sleep at night, and I don't want to turn on the light and wake him up. So it's better to have my Kindle where I can just have it like backlit and I can read without disturbing him. I do also have regular books, so I'm not like one of those people where it has to be one or the other. I kind of have a combination. And I get the Paperwhite Kindle because I don't like to read off of like regular screens. Bothers me so much. So before you come at me, just understand it's really because I guess it's my husband's fault. We can just blame him. I'm just kidding. So yeah, that's my review of Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson. I hope that you give it a read if you haven't already. If you have, I would love to hear what you thought of the book. Definitely let me know. Also, I don't know if this has anything to do with like the YouTube algorithm. I think it does. So if you could leave a comment, any comment, I don't even care what it is. You can tell me what your favorite color is. You can tell me what you ate for breakfast today. Tell me what your favorite book is or what book you're reading right now. Anything. I don't care. But I would love if you would leave one. It would mean a lot to me. And if you subscribed, obviously that would be super sweet too. I don't know where this is going. I'm hoping that I'll just get better at it as it goes and I'll figure it out along the way. Either way, I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying myself. I hope that you are too. Thank you so much. Honestly, like it's kind of silly. Like I'm 42 years old and starting a YouTube channel, but I don't know. It just felt like it would be something fun to do and enjoy. So I hope you have one of those really good days. I hope that you do the best that you can, and I want you to make it one for the books. See you next time.